Alright, enough waiting on my part. If I'm not going to find a document, I'm just not going to find it. What's going on, you few important people? I'm Know Nothing Attorney. I know nothing, so you can too. Because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can actually learn anything. And that's what we're here to do every time we're live. I hope to learn from you and hope that you can learn along with me. Main order of business tonight is going back to working on what a good new constitution would look like. I was trying to find where we worked on it before, and I don't know if we ended up actually starting a document or if we just spiraled debating what the legislature should look like. I do remember that we started by saying we should start with Article 1. Wait, yeah. What's up, little Donnie Fund? Housing and healthcare needs to be in the first 5. It needs to be in the first 5 sections of the first 5 rights? It needs to be in the first 5 articles. Okay. I think we should probably start with branches of government, which I don't think we had settled on there being only 3. We had been talking about having a separate branch for the administrative wing. And we had thrown ideas out there about like a kind of like a BBC. I don't know if that should be separate or not. Something with reliable news provided by, well, funded by the government, but treated independently. But I agree. Right to healthcare and housing should be in there. I don't know how likely that is to make it into a new constitution, but I do agree it should be in there. But before we get to working on the new constitution, first off, we made affiliate officially. I finally went and did some back of house stuff and got the affiliate thing taken care of. So we now have channel points. Don't have anything to do with it yet. I can get emotes. Don't have any yet. But we're there. We've made it to that point. And we officially have over... well, I think I lost one just a little while ago. I had 101 followers before I started streaming. So, hey, triple digits. That's really exciting. And then before we get to work on the Constitution, we got to cover the news. First things first, I can always rely on Maddie to post things. There it is. Hey, look, an emote. Not my emote, but someday. All right, first up is House Resolution 996. Oh boy. I haven't figured out how I'm going to have chat on the screen sorted yet. It's new. See the Massey comment yet? Which one was that? I think I did. Because Congress got their hands on the Epstein files today, right? The unredacted Epstein files? Is it select members of Congress? Yeah. About him getting the DOJ to unredact some stuff? Oh, yeah. Let's get on that. Let's look at that. We'll come back to this in a second. I'm sure I can find that on the law subreddit. Uh-oh. Well, that's completely different news. Seems to be some whistleblower stuff I hadn't heard about yet. This memorandum details the investigative steps taken since the indictment of Jeffrey Epstein in this district on July 2nd, 2019, and analyzes the extent to which certain of Epstein's associates and employees may or may not be criminally liable for their conduct during the employment with Epstein. Ooh. Yeah, let's go. And Trump's Department of Justice did it again. There we go. An 86-page Department of Justice prosecution memo tied to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation disappeared from the Epstein files library without any explanation. Oh yeah? I mean, not with no explanation, just not one stated by the DOJ. The memo, titled Investigation into Potential Co-Conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein, had been publicly accessible as part of the massive tranche of Epstein-related documents recently released. Then, after reporters from the Miami Herald, including the renowned Julie K. Brown, began asking the DOJ specific questions about it, the document was suddenly gone. But unfortunately for the Trump DOJ, we had already saved it. And we're making it available. Well, I found out we still haven't gotten anything as far as why stuff was redacted, which to me is wild as fuck. Yeah. I mean, in a functioning government, executive branch employees would start getting arrested. Ooh, I can download it. This is a formal prosecution document produced in December 2019 by federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York and sent to then U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman. It lays out in granular detail interviews conducted by federal and state investigators with victims, witnesses, and people associated with Epstein. The memo includes statements from 24 women who say they were abused by Epstein as minors and 14 who say they were abused as adults, along with additional references to assistants and recruiters. In many cases, investigators confirmed key elements of the women's accounts independently. The document also summarizes allegations made against a number of powerful men based on tips, interviews, and investigative leads compiled over years. Much of the document is redacted. The memo shows what investigators knew, what they looked at, and what they ultimately chose not to pursue. It provides a rare window into an investigation that spanned nearly 2 decades and 3 presidential administrations. It also stands in sharp contrast to repeated public statements from senior law enforcement officials claiming there was no credible evidence to pursue anyone else. Ho ho ho! Damn right I will read it myself. Hi, Lasagna. Hi. Where's my downloads? There we go. That's not that. There we go. All right, what do we got here? Hey, what's going on, Athena? How you doing tonight? We're just looking into the... Hey, Maddie. I don't know, Matt. I don't know if you saw Maddie, but I made you a moderator on the Discord. Oh, I mean, there's a lot going on. I don't know if I think I need to fix this. Hold on 1 second. I don't think the invisible background is working well. What? Chat box. Let's make it boxed. I think that'll work better. Somebody chat. Yeah. You can kick me off voice channels, I think. In case I just ever stay logged in for a couple days. Whoop whoop. Look at us go. We got channel points. We got a chat up on the screen. Yeah. You know, I'm a boomer basically, so it's to be expected. 380? What's 380 channel points? Whoa. Little Donnie Fund ahead of everybody. Yeah, and I could run an ad if I wanted to. I won't. Being a boomer. Being a boomer comes with being a lawyer. Yeah, my mind is just scattershot. It's to be expected. Okay, where did our PDF go? There we go. Okay, before I was so rudely interrupted by everybody coming into my chat, we were looking at this fun prosecution document that was found in the Epstein files. Liddy Bros, out of curiosity, what's your threshold for banning people? Because I would have banned those people that came in the other day. My threshold for banning is very high. It basically comes to, if you are going to use slurs, I will ban you. If you're going to make disgusting statements about a group of people based on their immutable characteristics, I will ban you. In both New York and Florida, Epstein perpetuated this abuse in similar ways. Victims were initially recruited to provide massages, which would be performed nude or partially nude, would become increasingly sexual in nature, and would typically include one or more sex acts, including groping and direct or indirect contact. Okay, yeah. Moreover, Epstein actively encouraged certain of his victims to recruit additional girls to be similarly sexually abused. He incentivized his victims to become recruiters by paying these victim recruiters hundreds of dollars for each additional girl they brought him. In this fashion, Epstein created a vast network of underage victims as young as 14 in locations including New York and Palm Beach. Yep. Since the indictment was unsealed on July 5th, 2019, our office and the FBI have been contacted by numerous potential witnesses, both directly and through their attorneys. Every unrepresented person who contacted the investigative team, either through the FBI tip line or by calling our office, was contacted in the first instance by an FBI agent for an initial screening interview. The FBI then provided our office with the names and contact information of individuals who appeared to have information pertinent to our investigation. The AUSAs and case agents then conducted follow-up interviews of those identified individuals. And so there were credible enough witnesses to have at least follow-up interviews. Ooh, I must have missed for the trans rights argument. I will engage with it a little bit to drive the conversation if I see it. But if people are persist, then I will get rid of them. But I think it's worth, because that is a topic that I know very well. I'm willing to engage with it some in order to shut them down to themselves. Not because I'm willing to tolerate their speech, but because I can quickly get them to a place where they don't know what the fuck to say, and that kind of shows their ignorance to themselves. Yeah, this is the cover up here. I hate that people discount tips. Like, do you think people think SA is so glamorous that people want to associate themselves with it? But I realized I had been a CSA survivor in my early 20s. I wasn't eager to advertise it. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, I fucking hate that. Like, back when I was talking to my MAGA coworker about political issues, she discounted the whole E. Jean Carroll thing, to which I responded, oh, so do you discount all 26 women? And she didn't want to answer that one. She just wanted me to provide the evidence of them. But she started going to well, why didn't they report it? And I was just like, it's normal. It is a common and well-known thing that most SA doesn't get reported, or people who do report it sometimes take a very long time to do it. So that's not even a legitimate question. It's kind of a monstrous question. And as I hear Dean and Parker say all the time, because of people like you. Because whenever they do bring it up, they will be questioned. They will be doubted. They will be shamed for bringing it up. Right. And if you talk about it, you will forever be associated with that to the people that know about it. You will forever be associated with your rapist, your assaulter. You will forever be associated with that person in other people's minds. Whenever they think of you, they will think of the person that abused you. Why would people imagine people would want to bring that up? I still wonder what would have happened if Me Too had come out in 2012 and Trump had immediately got canceled. I'm sorry they weren't the perfect victim for you, is my response to that BS. Yeah, right? Does this coworker have a law degree? No, she does not. She is a bookkeeper. No one wants that to have happened to them. I never reported, and the person who did it died last year. So yeah, fuck them and good riddance. Which is, never mind. I'm not going to compare. Like, very good, very good. I hope that he at least enjoyed some suffering during his life. On a separate, like, not wishing positive things for people, even in passing, I just associate with, you know, it's no surprise to anybody that I don't like my dad here. I don't talk about my mom because she passed away when I was like 17. But it's always bewildering to me when people talk about needing to take care of their parents. And I'm just like, when my dad gets sick, I will not be there. And when he dies, good riddance. I have no love for that person. I only ask because everyone in my criminal law classes were basically taught that the overwhelming amount of SA doesn't get reported. And even when it does, conviction rates are embarrassingly low. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you benefit by bringing it up? Right? Not quite that low, but still. This section walks through the information gathered during our continuing investigation since Epstein's arrest in July 2019. First, we summarize interviews conducted with victims who were abused as minors. Second, we summarize interviews conducted with victims who were abused as adults. Third, we summarize interviews conducted with victims who were not abused. Does that mean they were targeted for abuse? Did I miss something? What's a victim that was not abused? Fourth, we summarize interviews with individuals who are subjects of the investigation. Ah, the investigation that was not happening? Fifth, we summarize our interview with one victim. Okay, why is this one saved for last? What is that? What is that? Oh my god, what is that? My mother lives in the house she raised my brother and I in, and she really wants me to move back. I will not. She can have her own consequences. I don't understand how people feel so beholden to people who don't protect them at all. That damn right. Does that mean people who were in the vicinity of abuse but who never got the same treatment for whatever reason? Which sentence needed a follow-up sentence? Third, we summarize interviews conducted with victims who were not abused. Like an explanation of what that means. I have to imagine like it was girls who were recruited and never advanced to the level of abuse. That's what I imagine it is. But this, I think this censored bar will haunt me. Because it's victims who were abused as minors, victims who were abused as adults, victims who were not abused, people who are the subjects of investigation, and one specific victim blank. I don't know. And then finally, we walk through other investigative steps, such as attorney proffers, search warrants, and document review. Okay, you want to go to Section 5? I bet Section 5 is entirely blacked out. Okay, place your bets. We've got the length of a name here. Spoiler alert. Why do I feel like that one specific victim might not be alive as a result of what people did to them? Do you think this is just gross incompetence or purposeful redactions? These are purposeful redactions for sure. Yeah, I picked up on it, Maddie. I got it. First, on August 27th, 2019, they met with us in New York. During that interview, so-and-so described meeting Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, that is an odd place to... Okay, this is a last name. It's this last name. There we go. Killer fucking movie. Have they gotten better at redacting? I'm curious who redacted this one. I don't know if it was the FBI or if this was the AUSAs. Let me go back to the article. Where did the article go? There we go. I'm gonna guess this was the FBI and the Epstein redactions. Copy and paste to find out. Okay, we'll do it. For the love of the game. Yeah. Yep, it's correctly redacted. Just Cash Patel furiously using the black highlighter. So people are checking different pages and finding the same stuff with redactions in other places. And they can recomposite the letters that way. Or no redactions. Like in an email chain with loads of responses. What do you mean, Maddie? People are checking different pages and finding the same stuff with redactions in other places? Any idea what font we got here, y'all? Hey, cut it out. What are we guessing? Times New Roman? This bolded? That looks like Times. Yeah, it looks like Times to me. Oh, shoot. That was her name, right? How can I know. I can clip this and put it into my Google Doc. Oh, silly me. Nope. There we go. This is not what this Google Doc is for, but it's what I'm going to use it for. We're doing detective work, gang. My few important people. Okay. Stop it. Stop. There we go. No. I don't think Katie is long enough, you guys. Definitely not. Huh. Write the original first half of the sentence? And I mean, sure, but I was making it match the size. I mean, I could do it the other way around. Chill. I don't think so, guys. Any other ideas? Anyone we know? I need to catch up with what you guys been saying. So in some instances, in an email with lots of response, some of those same pages with redactions have them in different places or none at all. Not gonna lie, I'm subbed to the Epstein subreddit, and the stuff they are connecting is wild as fuck. Oh my god, the Katie Johnson story is so horrible. You're doing it wrong. Cream cheese fuel tanker explosion rabbit hole? Virginia Giuffre. First name looks good. I don't know about the second one. I mean, writing victims' names in a different font would be a good strategy, but I doubt that they did that. Virginia is a good length for the first name, though. So, who was on the Epstein subreddit? Little Donnie Fund? Little Donnie Fund, have they found a name for this? Nobody has time. Yeah. my billable hours for changing fonts? Okay. Back to it. Oh. Maddie, you got one? Okay. Good morning, Dostork. I hope you had a wonderful evening so far. It has been good so far. Officially affiliate. Officially 100 plus followers. Ivana Trump. I don't think that would deserve that spot. Um, and in an Epstein document, I mean, she accused Trump of raping her, but I mean, he did rape her. I have no doubt. Like, that's way too fucking wild of a story to be fake. Ivana was his first wife, yes. He admitted to it? I don't remember him admitting to it. Hold on. Earplugs. Donald Trump's lawyer said it's legal to rape your spouse. Cool. Love that. Well, I mean, sure, but we can still say he raped her. Like, whatever. Throughout the years, Donald Trump has consistently denied the incident occurred, calling the allegations obviously false, lies, and total fiction. His legal team also initially argued that, by the legal definition of at the time, a spouse could not be raped, a claim which was legally incorrect in New York, as the marital rape exemption had been struck down in 1984. Wow, cool. But apparently not, Maddie. Apparently it was illegal to rape your wife in New York at the time. Okay. So this will remain a mystery. One day when Epstein was... Is... What is that? What are you redacting here? I don't even know what they could redact there. So we know that this person would have been 17 years old at at the time. I guess we don't know when that was. Oh, gross. How much he was going to like her. One day when Epstein was blank, Maxwell invited blank to come to Maxwell's residence, where she was introduced to Epstein. I feel like it wasn't illegal across the country until 1994, but I could be wrong. It wasn't just about being illegal, but a lot of states had lesser sentences. I wonder if we will ever get told anything on the redactions. Well, what did Massey say today, a little Donny Fund? Because that's what we were initially going to look up. ICE ramps up targeting of Minneapolis legal observers. In one 30-minute stretch, 3 legal observers were arrested. Jamie Raskins has seen the unredacted files and reports of abused children as young as 9. He says, we're not taking this seriously enough, but wouldn't give any names of the redacted perps. Ro Khanna. I mean, I don't know why some congressman doesn't just get up on the floor of Congress and just start reading it. You're allowed to. Just do it. Ro Khanna, after Ghislaine Maxwell's deposition today in the Capitol, she must immediately be sent back to the maximum security prison. Hell yes. Thank you. Get her the fuck out of my state. Thank you. Oh, boy, Liddy Bros. I think that was covered in the Behind the Bastards episode about Epstein. What was? He said he will read the names out loud if they don't, and he redacted one of them. Oh. Yeah, no shit. Massey said he would if they don't buy tomorrow or something to that effect. Hell yeah. Well, I hope Massey's going to be okay. I hope he has surrounded himself with protection. Epstein Files whistleblower reveal letter naming DOJ officials who protected co-conspirators. Oh boy. We're coming down to it, y'all. We're really coming down to it.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right
A habeas petition? Are you for real?
To the U.S. Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffrey Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young woman or girl to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any other individual?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
I don't know what this room is.
Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination.
This doesn't look like any deposition I've ever been in before.
Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, did you and Jeffrey Epstein attempt to surround yourselves with influential individuals to curry favor and shield yourselves from potential scrutiny?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
I hope you rot in a cell in a maximum security prison and you're surrounded by criminals who hate you for being worse than them.
With all the names of other additional co-conspirators to the crimes perpetuated by you and Jeffrey Epstein.
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination.
Goddamn.
Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Middle school, fuck.
Ms. Maxwell, is it your intention to answer every question put to you by the committee today with the assertion of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
That
the answer to that is yes. Also, so just as her lawyer, I'll tell you yes. That's
right. Yeah, you. That answer can't incriminate you, so you can't. It's impossible to incriminate yourself by using the Fifth Amendment to avoid incriminating yourself, so you kind of need to answer that question. And there are allegations, rumors that there were male victims. Yeah. I'm going to say including Donald Trump, but being a victim does not exonerate him. Justice Department moves to dismiss Steve Bannon's criminal case. Okay. Not political at all. I'm glad we have an independent DOJ, guys. I'm glad we have an independent DOJ. Convicted in 2022. Only 4 months in federal prison. Brother. Okay, back to this. We figured out what Massey's doing. This is going to be an interesting week, guys. Slightly surprised Bannon was dangerously crossing the line at times. I mean, I've got Bannon in my list of evidence that everybody behind the fake elector scheme knew what they were getting up to. He was the one who told Trump to just not concede, never concede. During that first meeting, Maxwell told Blank that Epstein needed a massage every day and asked Blank to give Epstein a massage. Maxwell then brought Blank up to a bedroom where Epstein was in a robe. While Maxwell waited outside the room, Epstein removed the robe and got onto the bed. Blank then massaged Epstein. He put her hand on him. After this first sexual assault, Maxwell repeatedly called Blank, who was still 17, and invited her to see Epstein at Maxwell's residence. Blank. What? What is this shit you guys are redacting? During these visits, Epstein engaged in sexual contact with Blank. At the time, Blank was not in school, but still lived with Blank. Blank is confident Maxwell knew her age because Maxwell got her an expensive gift for her 18th birthday. I've heard this story before. Unless it's the same story every time. I know this story. A conspiracy theory channel now. So far as there are theories about a conspiracy, I mean, I guess so. It's a real conspiracy. Check footnote 11. Hard to tell what footnotes are what, given that redacted footnote. Where are footnotes? Oh my god, I can't read any footnotes. 15, 12. Oh, okay, that's what you're saying. Check footnote 11 because it's redacted. Yep. You got a couple more redacted footnotes down here. So, X and F, did you realize that you were wrong about that First Amendment case? Because it involved threats of prosecution? Because I noticed you just kind of bailed after dropping that case on me the other day. I don't know. Do you need to look at the case again? I don't remember what the name of the case was, but it said the law, and the law involved prosecution. Under the same law that created the committee to judge whether or not those books were violating their decency provisions, it allowed for prosecution. So that very law was unconstitutional. And the actions of the government in that case were unconstitutional. Oh, because I don't know a case? I mean, I still know the law? Nice try. XNF, you didn't even understand the case you gave me. You were wrong about it. Yeah, exactly. Legally illiterate. I didn't jump to any conclusions. That was what the case was about. It was prior restraint. Oh, Jesus Christ. Remind me the name of the case again? I don't still have it up. Nope, don't still have it up. Close that. Give me the case again, X and F, and I'll tell you. I'm happy to prove you wrong. See if I can find it myself if you're not going to provide it. Yeah, right. Looks like my history didn't save it. I mean, if X and F is still around, that is, Athena, because they bailed last time. Bantam Books Inc. v. Sullivan. There we go. The Rhode Island legislature created a commission. Okay, well, where do you cite the law where they did that? Supreme Court. Are you going to cite to it? Let's check. Oh, they are still in chat. Oh, brother. Is this the one? I doubt it. Yeah, that's no way that's okay. Well, let's see if we can find it a different way. Bantam Books Inc. v. Sullivan. Actually, no, I don't think I can log into my work Westlaw from here. I thought it'd be cool to show you guys what like Westlaw research looks like. But nope. Sections 13, 47, 48, and 49 of Chapter 610 of the Rhode Island General Laws. Westlaw sucks compared to... Oh my god, I'm blanking on the alternative. LexisNexis. Okay, let's see. Rhode Island resolution number 95. S444. 1959. Oh, I guess Bantam Books does cite it. I just didn't get far enough for it. Westlaw sounds like a law resource created by a white supremacist? What? Oh, come on, guys. Give me the law in question. Ugh, am I gonna have to try to log into my Westlaw? I don't have access to LexisNexis. Not anymore. Not since law school. I think law firms are missing out by not using LexisNexis and using Westlaw instead. Don't accidentally dox. How would I accidentally dox? I just wish I could use Westlaw right now. It would make finding cases so much easier. Okay. We can at least look at this. God. This is going to be a nightmare to read. Oh my god, is it ever going to be a nightmare to read? Okay, this is from catalog. Secretary of State from Rhode Island. This is the Rhode Island Commission to Encourage Morality in Youth, which existed for 7 years, from 1957 to 1964. During the January session of the Rhode Island General Assembly in 1956, the Commission to Encourage Morality in Youth was established by Resolution Number 73, H1000, Rhode Island Acts and Resolves. The resolution created a commission to encourage morality in youth to be composed of 9 members appointed by the governor of the state. The members were to serve for staggered 5-year terms. They were to receive no compensation, but their expenses, as well as the expenses incurred in the operation of the commission generally, were to be defrayed out of annual appropriations. The original mandate of the commission was superseded in part by Resolution Number 95, S444, Rhode Island Acts and Resolves, January Session 1959, 880, which reads as follows. Okay, I was trying to find that law. It shall be the duty of said commission to educate the public concerning any book, picture, pamphlet, ballad, printed paper, ballad? Printed paper or other thing containing obscene, indecent, or impure language as defined in Chapter 11 through 31, or Chapter 1131 of the General Laws, entitled Obscene and Objectionable Publications and Shows, and to investigate and recommend the prosecution of all violations of said sections. So there's your answer, X and F. Chapter 1131 of the General Laws of the State of Rhode Island for obscene, indecent, or impure language. That would be the law they were going to be prosecuted under. Holy shit. It's like you don't know law. Actually, dude, it said, recommend the prosecution of all violations of said sections. So that means that the sections include violations. ruling would need to enjoin prosecution? Well, it wouldn't have to do that if it found the law to be unconstitutional. What did the Rhode Island Supreme Court hold? You didn't you just say that Didn't you just say that the case didn't enjoin the commission? Oh, okay. There's a reverse of the grant of injunctive relief. Granted the appellants an injunction against the acts and practices. I guess I'm just gonna have to read the freaking case. Oh boy. Alright, Athena, have a good night. Well, first I jumped down to see what the conclusion of the Supreme Court was, and then I had to jump back up to see what the conclusion of the Rhode Island Supreme Court was, which required me to look at what the finding of the Superior Court was. Because this says the Supreme Court of Rhode Island reversed the grant of injunctive relief against the commission. What uses the word indirect? From directly or indirectly notifying book and magazine wholesale distributors and retailers that the commission has found objectionable any specific book or magazine for sale, distribution, or display. Said injunction to apply. No, that wouldn't that wouldn't undercut it, because the commission is still a prosecutorial body. It recommends to the state prosecutions against violations of this statute. All right, because I don't want to spend the whole time on this, let's get a summary of the finding. In practice, the commission would review publications, vote on whether they were objectionable, and then send notices to distributors listing those publications. The notices carried an implicit threat. They reminded distributors that the Attorney General would act in cases of non-compliance, and police would follow up to check whether the flagged materials had been removed from shelves. The commission had no formal enforcement power, but the intimidation worked. Max Silverstein, a Rhode Island book distributor, stopped circulating flagged titles rather than risk prosecution. Sales of identified books dropped significantly, even though no books were formally seized or banned, and no one was ever prosecuted. 4 publishers, Bantam Books, Dell, Pocket Books, and New American Library, sued, seeking to have the commission's enabling law declared unconstitutional as practices enjoined. Right, but the purpose of the commission... Where was the law again? To educate the public concerning any book, picture, pamphlet, ballad, printed paper, or other thing containing obscene, indecent, or impure language, as defined in the general laws entitled Obscene and Objectionable Publications and Shows, and to investigate and recommend the prosecution of all violations of said sections. So the job of this body is to look at publications and recommend all violations for prosecution. So it was a governmental body whose job it was to recommend prosecution for all violations. That is not the same as the office of the president or whatever arm of the president it was that reached out to Facebook and asked them to apply their standards of, what was it? Community guidelines to COVID misinformation, because there is no implicit threat of violation for all actions that are done as requests of the government. The government isn't solely a body that exists to make prosecutorial suggestions. That is the difference between the federal case and this case. The Facebook case and the commission, the Rhode Island Commission case. That is the sole purpose of the existence of this commission. Well, not the sole purpose, but they cannot disregard any violations. And if they tell you that you have a violation, yeah, this is a case of prior restraint. They're being told your books are illegal, and you will be recommended for prosecution based on these books. That is prior restraint, plain and simple. The body that recommends for criminal prosecution is telling you that you have committed a criminal act, at least if you don't stop publishing this book. That isn't suggested by the federal government asking Facebook. Like, there's no suggestion of, like, a criminal act if they don't do it. Can you point to the federal government having any kind of law under which Facebook could be prosecuted for the COVID thing? What? No, go away. Would Television University lie to me? Can't point to any law that the appellants in this case could be prosecuted. Yes, you can. What? according to the laws of Rhode Island, it said that could be violations of Chapter 1131 that was about obscene content. I'm in a legal research spiral, guys. Yeah, dude, there 1131(1)(a) provides for the penal repercussions for violating the section. It's right here. Michelle Lakota. Lakota's not long enough, Maddie. Here you go, X and F. Eat legal shit, dude. 1131(1). Every person who willfully or knowingly promotes for the purpose of commercial gain within the community any show, motion picture, performance, photograph, book, magazine, or other material which is obscene shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine of not less than $100 nor more than $1,000, or by imprisonment for not more than 2 years. Are you saying you can't violate Section 1131(1)? The part that the commission was told it could recommend prosecution under? Eat legal shit, dude. Okay, Maddie, because you requested it, I'll put it up there and we'll see what it does. That's not the right thing. Get rid of that. Okay, what's the name? Michelle Lakota. Michelle looks good. Lakota's 60% of the way there. 50%? Is it a hyphenate? I feel like it's got to be a hyphenate. Invited the person to travel with him to Palm Beach, Paris, the Virgin Islands, and New York. Every time they traveled with Epstein, he engaged in sexual contact. They recalled that she resisted Epstein's advances, and Maxwell encouraged her to do what Epstein wanted, saying things like, "Don't be silly," to minimize the conduct. On one occasion, Maxwell encouraged them to wear a schoolgirl uniform for Epstein. When they resisted, Maxwell responded, "Don't be so frigid." On one occasion, Maxwell asked them if she knew someone who could give Epstein a blowjob because Maxwell did not feel like doing so that day. Okay. Let me see like what happens when I look up here, what if I just ask freaking AI again? Trying to identify a redacted name. No. Trying to remember an doesn't matter if there weren't prosecutions. That was the law under which they were told to recommend prosecutions. No, the committee itself couldn't enforce it, but the committee was to recommend prosecutions for these states to prosecute. Dude, you are citing the injunction of the Superior Court of Rhode Island that was then overturned by the Supreme Court of Rhode Island, and the Supreme Court of the United States affirmed the action of the Supreme Court of Rhode Island. And besides, even if you were correct, that would be because it was a prior restraint, which means that there was a threat of force. That would be the reason why the Superior Court would have enjoined them from enforcing that. So the force occurred before the trial. That would be what the trial was about, was that force. Buddy, you just don't know how to read law. I'm sorry. It is complicated, but Lil Donny Fund, you're not sitting there trying to tell me about law. Dude, it's still on the books. Have you read the case? Yeah, literally, section, like, the end of the case is them saying it's possible that the commission could overstep and prevent the adult public from accessing these materials, even if the goal is to keep it from children, but so far that hasn't been done, and we don't want to make a determination about that here. That's the end of the case, dude. Believing that the Commission, once advised of the permissible constitutional scope of its activities, can be counted on to conduct itself accordingly, I would affirm the judgment of the Rhode Island Supreme Court, which overturned the injunction. X and F, sit down! God damn! It looks like Epstein Pinky promised not to have actual sex? What? That's weird. X and F, like, the Supreme Court, it seems just from reading the last couple paragraphs of their decision, are saying that there is a constitutional form of this kind of censorship for the protection of children, but it would be unconstitutional if they in practice prevented adults from accessing that material. Oh my god. Nevertheless, Epstein raped them on multiple occasions, and he told them not to tell Maxwell about the rapes because it violated their understanding. Maxwell also asked them to bring other girls to engage in sex with Epstein, and repeatedly asked blank to engage in sex acts with Epstein. What? Maxwell continued to ask blank to engage in sexualized massages with Epstein into her 20s. Over the years, Leslie Groff would contact them to invite her to meet Epstein and would make her travel arrangements. What? Leslie Groff would contact them to invite her to meet Epstein? I'm not reversing on anything, X and F. It's really, really not that complicated. The Rhode Island legislature passed a law creating a commission whose job it was, in part, to identify all violations of the obscenity statute and to recommend them for prosecution. That commission then contacted publishers and told them which publications violated the obscenity statute. That would then be, according to the purpose of the commission, recommended for prosecution to the state, which itself would be a prior restraint on the First Amendment rights of those publishers. So the publishers then took it to court, and the Superior Court found that it was at least injunction worthy. They didn't make a determination on the unconstitutionality of the law, but they did say it was worth an injunction against the acts of the commission. So then it was taken to the Rhode Island Supreme Court. The Rhode Island Supreme Court said, no, that you can't even get an injunction on that. This is at least a valid enough law to continue through the litigation. And then it went to the Supreme Court of the United States to determine if their First Amendment rights had been violated. And no, because there was a constitutional purpose for the commission. They were involved in state threats of force. Yes. If the commission tells you that your publication violates the obscenity statute, that means that they must, by law, recommend you for prosecution if you do not remove your publication. So that is a threat, a legal threat against you, if the commission tells you that your publication violates the obscenity statute. Yes, X and F, yes. And they recommend you for prosecution, which is a prior restraint on your First Amendment rights. Yes. The commission itself can't prosecute you, but they have a state purpose to recommend you for prosecution. Jesus Christ, dude. Give up. You don't understand the law. No, not formal sanctions. They then recommend you to the state for prosecution, which is their governmental purpose. All I ever said is that they recommend you for prosecution. If you want to go back in today's stream, you want to... I still have it up, dude. I still have it up. Resolution number 95, section 444 of the Rhode Island Acts and Resolves gives the commission the duty to... Where to go? Recommend the prosecution of all violations of... Let me throw it back on screen. Here it is. Under resolution number 95, section 444 of the Rhode Island Acts and Resolves, required to recommend the prosecution of all violations of said sections being Chapter 1131 of the General Laws, entitled Obscene and Objectionable Publications and Shows. Here's Section 1131 of the General Laws, Circulation of Obscene Publications and Shows, under which a violation carries a criminal punishment. There you go, X and F. There you go. What do you mean? And I also don't even know what this has to do with the case we're talking about, because the Supreme Court didn't make a judgment as to the constitutionality of the acts of the commission, except to the degree that it was protected for children, at least that I saw so far in the case. This is not an informal sanction. They recommend prosecution by the state under this law. This is formal. Their duty is not to prosecute, because they're a commission created by the legislature, so they can't do that. But they recommend prosecution to the state to prosecute you. That is force. Holy shit. For now, XNF, I'm fucking done. Because you clearly don't understand this, so I'm going to move on. I did not see it, Lil Donnie Fun. Can you post a link? Oh, right. I was asking to remember this story. Your turn, XNF. What law was Facebook in danger of being prosecuted under? That's where you're going to fail to find anything. Thank you for summarizing it neatly for me, XNF. I appreciate that.
We know that there are more than 36 associates, family members, and individuals directly associated with Donald Trump named in those files. Now, there are now at least 9 or 10 other countries across the world that have opened investigations or forced their leaders to step down because of their mere association with Jeffrey Epstein. And the United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest sex trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump is right at the center of it. And the person who is living to provide the evidence, who knows what is going on, is trying to invoke the Fifth to buy her clemency.
Trying to invoke the Fifth. Hell yeah. That was great. It's going to be a wild week. It's going to be a wild week. Should have used Trivago. It didn't say that it was your first comment. I don't know that I've seen you comment before. Should have used Trivago. How are you doing? Welcome in. Get the music back. Okay. Let's see if we can... Really? Based on this, I'm not sure I understand why this whole section was its own section. Why is she different? What makes her different than... Oh, this is why. This paragraph is the whole reason she has her own section. You mean the citations in Bantam v. Sullivan? That's interesting because those laws are still on the books, XNF. Well, then why don't you cite to those cases? Because that case didn't do what you wanted it to do. I want to know what this paragraph says. Somebody said something about the last 10 pages. Woo, woo. What is this whole section? Wow. That wasn't what you were trying to do, and I don't know that that was foundational case law, X and F. That case doesn't really establish any kind of major precedent that I was able to pick up from the end of it. I mean, what conclusion was pulled out of that case, XNF? And by the way, I don't know if you know how this works, because different constitutional law classes will pull different cases. And if you don't do any work in free speech cases, then you won't necessarily have come across all of the First Amendment cases. Conservatives have only a belief in a free market. They don't have a belief. That's a stretch. Oh boy. Okay, I want to go up to the earlier sections here. Wait, is this not the... Okay. Yeah, these are... What was the section after? It's next steps, right? Anyway, I need to get off the Epstein subject. I need to cover some other shit. Yeah, conservatives don't have a lot of beliefs. They just have a lot of phrases they parrot. What else we got here? Okay, it seems there's more discussion in that case, XNF, about prior restraint that I didn't get into by reading it. I just read the conclusion of it. So, yeah, there is good discussion on prior restraint in there. You know what? That might be worth looking at. I will follow where my curiosity guides me. What Rhode Island has done, in fact, has been to subject the distribution of publications to a system of prior administrative restraints, since the Commission is not a judicial body, and its decisions to list particular publications as objectionable do not follow judicial determinations that such publications may lawfully be banned. Any system of prior restraints of expression comes to this court bearing a heavy presumption against its constitutional validity. We have tolerated such a system only where it operated under judicial superintendence and assured an almost immediate judicial determination of the validity of the restraint. Don't think this like means you get away with it though, X and F, because this was not to show that I didn't have a familiarity with First Amendment right case law, which why would I? That doesn't make any sense. You were trying to prove a point about the Facebook case, and this doesn't do it. You failed. I know you're trying to pivot and say now you were trying to prove that I wasn't familiar with case law. Hey, I'm sure you'll pivot and say that you were trying to prove that I was unfamiliar with First Amendment case law. But why would I? That doesn't make sense as an argument. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. But I can read case law and understand case law, and this proves you wrong. You are incorrect. We have tolerated such a system of prior restraints only where it operated under judicial superintendence and assured an almost immediate judicial determination of the validity of the restraint. The system at bar includes no such saving features. On the contrary, its capacity for suppression of constitutionally protected publications is far in excess of that of the typical licensing scheme held constitutionally invalid by this court. There is no provision whatever for judicial superintendence before notices issue or even for judicial review of the Commission's determinations of objectionableness. The publisher or distributor is not even entitled to notice and hearing before his publications are listed by the Commission as objectionable. Moreover, the Commission's statutory mandate is vague and uninformative, and the Commission has done nothing to make it more precise. Publications are listed as objectionable without further elucidation. The distributor is left to speculate whether the Commission considers this publication obscene or simply harmful to juvenile morality. For the Commission's domain is the whole of youthful morals. Finally, we note that although the Commission's supposed concern is limited to youthful readers, the cooperation it seeks from distributors invariably entails the complete suppression of the listed publications. Adult readers are equally deprived of the opportunity to purchase the publications in the state. The procedures of the Commission are radically deficient. They fall far short of the constitutional requirements of governmental regulation of obscenity. We hold that the system of informal censorship disclosed by this record violates the 14th Amendment. And thereby is a 14th... Okay, there we go. In holding that the activities disclosed on this record are constitutionally prescribed, we do not mean... Yeah, force, X and F. We do not mean to suggest that private consultation between law enforcement officers and distributors prior to the institution of a judicial proceeding can never be constitutionally No, formal force. Through an informal actor. You're an idiot, dude. I'm sorry. It's not a threat of force from the Commission, X and F. It's a threat of force from the state of Rhode Island. Where such consultation is genuinely undertaken with the purpose of aiding the distributor to comply with such laws and avoid prosecution under them, it need not retard the full enjoyment of First Amendment freedoms, but that is not this case. The appellees are not law enforcement officers. They do not pretend that they are qualified to give or that they attempt to give distributors only fair legal notice. Their conduct, as disclosed by this record, shows plainly that they went far beyond advising the distributors of their legal rights and liabilities. Their operation was in fact a scheme of state censorship. State censorship. State censorship, so says the Supreme Court. Whatever the Commission did was an act of state censorship, because the state itself would be involved in the prosecution. Yes, X and F. If they are empowered to issue those informal sanctions, yes. Note that their operation was in fact a scheme of state censorship effectuated by extra-legal sanctions. So the state was using an administrator to issue these threats for the state because the state had a law it could prosecute under. That's what this is saying. Basically, the state was trying to get around themselves issuing a threat that they were violating a law by having an unofficial actor make that threat for them. What law, X and F? What law? This is the one you wanted to ask me. Can you answer the question? If you can't answer this question, maybe you should sit the fuck down. No. They were told to issue recommendations for violations of an actual prosecutable criminal offense. What criminal offense was at issue with the Facebook case? If you can't answer that question, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Well, if you can't answer that question, that would be the right answer. There is no way to answer that question. All right. What else we got going on? All right, Maddie, you still around? Did she fall asleep? Maddie, wake up, Maddie. Are you trying to coach X and F? You got this, X and F. You can find the law that the FBI was threatening Facebook with. We believe in you. If Maddie's not awake, guys, I'm not going to work on the Constitution right now. Republicans asked the Supreme Court to block states from counting legally cast mail ballots. Oh my God. Stop it. I don't want this. Democracy docket, I don't want this. Forget it. So they hate the military, right? I feel like I'm in Austin, Texas, Liddy, which I learned today apparently is like a hive of streamers. I didn't know that. But I like Little Donny Fund. I heard recently that usually mail-in ballots favor Republicans. It was just during COVID that Democrats were the main voters with mail-in ballots. Well, they hate the military and the president because Donald Trump votes by mail-in ballot. Trump accused of Roland Epstein's death and tips sent to FBI. I mean, most of us could be pretty sure that that had something to do with it. Federal judge blocks California law. That's good of you, Little Donny Fund. I usually, my ADHD takes over and I fail to do what I'm supposed to do for too many days in a row, and then I end up just going, I guess I'll go vote in person. It's too late. Federal judge blocks California law forcing ICE agents to remove masks during operations. What? Undermines the federal government? How? How does this get in the way of them conducting their operations at all? Under the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause, federal law takes precedence over any conflicting state or local law, rendering the lower level law unenforceable. That's not true. That's only if it's within the domain of the federal government. If it's within the state domain, then no, the federal law does not take precedence. Judge Christina A. Snyder of the Federal District Court in Los Angeles issued a preliminary injunction against the mask ban, ruling that California's new law was unconstitutional because it did not impose the same requirements on all federal, state, and local law enforcement officers. Well, okay, that's an easy fix. However, the judge allowed the state to enforce a separate law that requires all law enforcement officers, including federal ones, to display visible identification. I looked it up in 2020 elections. 58% of Democratic voters chose mail-in ballots compared with 29% of Republican voters. Yeah, but did you compare it to other presidential election years or midterms? Because the idea is like, does it usually favor Democrats or Republicans? But that's a fuckload of Democratic voters in 2020. Jesus. I like voting by mail because I can take my time and look up the people running and local amendments. That's a good point. That is a good practice to do. Okay, because you don't want to do that at the voting booth. Admission of rape by Trump? What?
Well, sort of. That's what she said I did to her. She fainted with great emotion. She actually indicated that she loved it. Okay? She loved it until commercial break. In fact, I think she said it was sexy, didn't she? It was very sexy to be raped. Didn't she say that?
So, sir, I just want to confirm. It's your testimony that E. Jean Carroll said that she loved being sexually assaulted by you?
Well, based on her interview with Anderson Cooper. Well,
that's not an admission.
Did to her. She fainted with great... Well, sort of. That's what she said I did to her. She fainted with great emotion. She actually indicated that she loved it. Okay? She loved it until commercial break. In fact, I think she said it was sexy, didn't she? It was very...
Yeah, it doesn't look great, but that's not an admission. I hate when people overreact to stuff that Trump says. I'm trying to remember a specific one where everybody flipped their lid, and I was like, well, that's not exactly what his words said, but I will say that the World Economic Forum, he said, sometimes you need a dictator. That's not what she said. That's not what she said at all. Yeah, she was comparing her experience to what she understands other people's imaginations of rape are. Yeah. Her experience was that it just hurt, and it was not sexual in nature. And that she thinks that some people imagine rape to be this sexy thing. Ghislaine Maxwell refuses to testify unless Trump grants clemency, lawyer says. Well, like she's going to suddenly testify when Trump grants clemency. What? ICE is flipping the bird at judge's warrantless arrest order as agents continue to snatch parents and families off the streets without checking flight risk. Yep. Fuck you. We're going to violate people's rights. Fuck you. Fuck the Constitution. No one gives a shit. So says Ice. Yeah, I don't understand why she wants clemency. Can you explain that? She wants to be pardoned. And she's in federal prison, right? Or in prison for federal crimes? So she wants Trump to pardon her? And I mean, if you're Trump right now, it's like, why would I do that? That would look bad for me, and you're not talking anyway, so... Yeah.
First, this is a portion of her congressional testimony last week.
My name is Aliya Rahman, and I am a resident of South Minneapolis. I'm a Bangladeshi American, born in northern Wisconsin.
14 minutes, man. I can't.
I'm a disabled person with autism.
Maybe if I were doing like a whole segment of it, but we're past that point right now.
Not all autistic brains do this, but mine fixates on sounds, numbers, and patterns. I had a cellmate who was willing to put herself in danger to bang on the door after I was unconscious. And you know, from the second needs respected, the answer to that is no. And I think we have lots of testimony.
Yeah, DHS worst of the worst website. Sucks. It's monstrous. And do we have anything interesting in the politics subreddit? Congressman says the redacted part of Epstein file suggests Trump never banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. I think that verifies what Epstein said in the emails. I think Epstein said he was never banned because he was never a member. President Trump threatens to block Gordie Howe International Bridge from opening? What? Epstein installed secret cameras with help of handy Russians. Did you see it's all BS with the worst of the worst nonsense? Yeah, of course. Is there a story here? Oh. Womp womp. Massey threatens to go nuclear and reveal Epstein client names if Bondi won't unredact them. Oh. Are there any... Is there any good coverage of the TPUSA halftime show? I wanted to check it out yesterday, but I didn't want to give them the view. They were taking credit for getting people off the street when it was the state was handing over these people. Yep. This is old news at this point. We already covered that on stream. We're building concentration camps with incinerators. Do you think Epstein was connected to intelligence or an asset of Mossad? I mean, I think he was definitely tied to Mossad. Donald Trump's approval rating underwater with white voters. Let's go. We're finally doing something right, white boys. Let's go. The Mark Kelly case? What's the Mark Kelly case? Of the many questions posed by those gathered in U.S. District Judge Richard Leon's courtroom last week, the most obvious one of all never came up. Why on earth was anyone here in the first place? Until now, the military has pursued only a tiny number of criminal cases against retirees for actions that occur after military service has ended. Until now, the idea that the Secretary of Defense would accuse a lawmaker of treason simply for disagreeing with him would be laughable. What the fuck? What's happening? Is this for the unconstitutional orders thing? Frickin' wild. And yet there we all were anyway, gathered to see Mark Kelly, the fighter pilot turned astronaut turned U.S. Senator, defend his First Amendment rights against an attempt by the Pentagon chief, Pete Hegseth, to silence him and knock down his military retirement rank and pay. As someone who's covered 10 secretaries of defense, I've never seen anything like what Hegseth is doing, not even close. Wow, what a great article. Great article. Yeah, Pete Hegseth is a real piece of shit. They're all just amazing pieces of shit. Couldn't get anybody in here to argue today. That was worth shit. We're just rehashing an old argument to prove somebody doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's a shame. But during the week, it is slower. More likely to get debates on Friday and Saturday. So I'm learning. EFTA 011444176. I am not live on TikTok. That is one of my long-term goals, though I did see that people who are bad-mouthing Trump are getting, what's the word? Squashed. I don't remember what the term is. Not being pushed by the algorithm. Acosta denied ever having said that, by the way. The source for that was anonymous, and most believe it was Steve Bannon. What do we have here? XNF actually contributing? Huh. Huh. What the fuck? I'm not a robot. I'm 18. Oh, page not found. Hmm. Well, that certainly doesn't help the idea that it stands for something else. Culinary Institute of America. CIA is probably some internal code for leather. Here's a picture of their workshop in France. You can see that same CIA tray in the bottom shelf there. Interesting. But why was it removed? The fact that it was removed is weird. All right. After this, I'm going to wrap it up. Yep, that's it. All right. Well, I'll be back Wednesday. Wish me luck on the date tomorrow night. Okay. I'm Know Nothing attorney. I know nothing, so you can too, because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can actually learn anything. And that's what I try to do here every time we're live. I hope to learn from you guys and hope you can learn along with me. Yeah, not enough proof in that one. And as always, I'm proud of you. I don't need to know you personally for that to be real. It's true, and you deserve to hear it. If only because life is hard, it's always been hard, and it always will be hard. But the way you meet each and every single day, the way you do, is remarkable. So stay remarkable, and I'll see you guys Wednesday night. Rest well, everybody.